going to jump in. So thank you so much, Caitlin and James, for having us. My name is also Caitlin, and I work at CCOF, California Certified Organic Farmers. And we will be having a conversation today on whether cannabis can be organic. I'm going to start with a brief overview of what organic is and how that works in cannabis. And then I'm going to call up some awesome producers to further that conversation who are using organic practices on their farms and facilities. Okay, so I am Caitlin Slay. I work for CCOF, California Certified Organic Farmers. I oversee our OCAL program, which is the program that our panelists are all in, and it's a certification program that is comparable to organic. CCOF, California Certified Organic Farmers, we were founded in 1973, so this is our 50th anniversary this year. We started off very small with our roots in California. Now we have grown to certify over 4,000 members across the United States, Canada, and Mexico. The lovely people on this slide are the amazing coworkers I get to work with every single day. We're all very committed to CCF's mission, which is to advance organic agriculture for a healthy world. And we do this through organic certification, education, advocacy, and promotion. CCOF values integrity, courage, community, and representation of and for organic producers. Okay, so I'm going to start with organic, and then we'll pivot into what that means in cannabis. So I know everybody has now seen the word organic on a product in the grocery store at this point. That could just be the word organic. It could be the USDA organic seal, which you see on the top in this circle. It could be a certifier seal like ours, which you see down below with the sunflower. These are all organic claims, and they all require certification to be made on a product. So the way certification works is that this is actually not just a label, it's actually a law. So the USDA, the United States Department of Agriculture, has a national organic program, and they have a set of regulations for what it means to be organic. So everybody using the word organic is following this set of regulations. The government then accredits certifiers like CCOF to make sure that anybody using that claim is following the rules. And so if somebody wants to make an organic claim on packaging, they would then get certified with a certifier like CCOF, and we would then verify their ongoing compliance. So the organic standards are strict. They're not easy to do, and they're very extensive, and I'm not going to go through every detail. I just put some of the highlights up here. So if you're making an organic product, you can have no genetically modified organisms. So if you buy organic, it means you're buying GMO-free. In organic, there's a prohibition of chemicals that are considered toxic to consumers, to farm workers, to the environment. All farmers in the organic program are required to maintain or improve their natural resources. So not only do they have a limited amount of inputs they can use, they also have to be environmental stewards of their land and show how they're taking care of their water, their soil, the wildlife, etc. Everybody needs to have pretty strict prevention measures in place to ensure that there's no contamination of food in the field and in facilities. Lots of record keeping to demonstrate compliance. And this all takes time and resources, and so that can translate to a higher cost for the producer and thus to a consumer. For us to verify compliance, we do this through inspections and reviews. So every year, everyone has an annual inspection. If needed, we may do unannounced inspections, pesticide sampling inspections. If we find there's an issue with compliance, if the issue is correctable, we find ways to correct it and continue. And there's also investigations that actually go on to make sure that there's a level playing field. So everybody who's saying that they're organic, we don't want them competing with any fraudulent claims. And certifiers do investigations, state governments do investigations. At the federal level, it's going on as well. So if you're non-compliant, you could face suspension and fines. So oftentimes people are like, how do I know it's organic? Does it really mean anything? Yeah, it's a federal rule, and there's lots of work going in to verify that it's compliant. So if you see that, you know it means what it says. The benefits of organic are numerous. We have an awesome benefits report in our booth if you want to come by and grab it, or you can download it on our website. So our foundation did an assessment of all the peer-reviewed scientific studies out there that document the benefits of organic, and we summarized it in this report. And you can see some of those listed here. So social benefits can include protection for public health, more safety for farm workers, actually more nutritious foods and secure food supplies. Economically, higher price points for farmers, competitive yields to conventional. There's more job creation and poverty reduction rates, actually. Environmentally, studies are showing that organic practices mitigate climate change, conserve natural resources, and support biodiversity. So when you're going out to buy organic, you're actually supporting all of these people who are invested in these practices every day. You're reducing your exposure to chemicals that can be harmful to your health. You're benefiting from more nutrients, and you're protecting the environment. All right, that was our organic crash course. Now let's talk about cannabis. Can cannabis be organic? You now know that organic is a federal rule. That means the term organic is actually federally regulated, and it can't be used on cannabis because cannabis, unfortunately, is not federally legal at this time. But lucky for us, we live in California, and taxpayers actually a few years ago voted for the government to create a comparable standard. So now there is a program that is just like organic for cannabis, and it's only in the state of California, and it's called OCal. So you can see the state seal here with the green circle and the cal in orange. That is the OCal logo. This is not overseen by the USDA since it's California only. It's overseen by the California Department of Food and Agriculture and the California Department of Public Health. They were tasked with creating regulations, and they are literally identical to the National Organic Program regulations. There's just some additions to bring in cannabis terminology and align with existing state regs. So now operations can use the OCal label to communicate their organic practice and composition of their products. And this is a really big deal. A lot of states have been trying to get this out. Nobody has done it yet except for California. So these operations that are doing OCal are like first in line. As soon as you can say organic on cannabis, they're going to be there. They're ready to go. They're doing it already. And you, as a consumer, can actually go out to your dispensary in California and make that choice and say, I buy organic food in the grocery store. I want cannabis that's considered organic as well. You can look for the OCal label. That's only in California. I don't think I mentioned this yet. This is a program only for licensed cannabis producers, so just to point that out. The certification process is exactly the same. So the state of California writes the standards. They accredit certifiers like CCOF to verify them. Anybody who wants to make an OCal claim would then become certified, and then we continue to verify their compliance. So you can go in your dispensary and look for an OCal claim and know that it means organic, essentially. That can look like the state seal shown below. It can be a certifier seal like ours above. It could just be the word OCal. Any of that means somebody verified it. There's a strict certification. There's a regulation. It all has that same environmental, health, and public safety benefit that organic has. So an OCal farm, they're prohibited from using those pesticides and synthetic fertilizers that are common in conventional agriculture. They're maintaining or improving their natural resources. Those practices, we'll talk a little bit more with our panelists in a bit of what they're doing. But it's shown that some of these practices sequester carbon, protect pollinators, keep water clean, and provide a multitude of other ecosystem services. So our manufacturers who are making finished goods, they have a limitation of what processing methods they can use in the regulations. If they're adding any ingredients, like gummies, for instance, they all have to be certified organic ingredients. All the cannabis they're using has to be certified OCal cannabis. So there can't be any genetically modified organisms or artificial fillers or preservatives and colors in it. We're often asked kind of like, what's the point of this? Isn't all cannabis tested? Isn't it all super clean? Yes, all cannabis is tested. There's a list of 66 pesticides that it's tested for. Operations can still use any material that's at their disposal and allowed under the Department of Pesticide regulation. So just because it might not be a residue on there, it's still being used, and it could still be affecting the environment, it could still be affecting workers. OCal operations are prohibited from using all of those types of materials. And when we test OCal products, we're actually testing for an additional 122 pesticides on top of the 66 already tested for. So just more kind of guarantee of that clean cannabis in the end. So when you go into your dispensary and you see that OCal label, you can know that the same integrity was applied to that cannabis as is applied to cannabis. As to organic products every step of the way, from seed to a final product. We're here for the rest of the day in the booth over there. If you want to talk about anything I just said, you can reach out to us. But I want to pivot now to bring the panelists up. So if you guys want to come on up, we have a last-minute addition, organic medicinals. I'm sorry, your info's not up here. And once you guys get up here, I'm going to read through your bios. Okay, so we have... Thank you. So we have some of our OCal certified operations up here today. We have Nate from Jetty Extracts, Aaron from Sonoma Hills. We have Chris from Lake Zone and Jill from Organic Medicinals. I'm going to read through their bios real quick. Okay, let's start with Jetty. Jetty Extracts. Founded in 2013, the early days of extraction, Jetty began its operations in San Diego, California. Since their founding, they have been obsessed with creating the safest, cleanest, and most flavorful products. Jetty was one of the first brands to release a vape oil free from fillers and cutting agents. Today, that legacy continues with their minimally processed, unrefined live resin. Jetty's process starts with OCal-grown, fresh frozen cannabis. They then cryo-extract their live resin, locking in all the terpenes and cannabinoids just as they would be in the cannabis plant. They make the finest, handcrafted products, free of pesticides, chemicals, and fillers, all right here from California. Nate is joining us, and he is the Chief Product Officer and co-founder of Jetty Extracts. Nate is an industry veteran with over 2 decades of experience working with the cannabis plant. He has owned and operated retail dispensaries, delivery services, indoor and outdoor cultivations, and extraction labs. Nate's extensive cannabis background gives him unique insight into the seed-to-sale production techniques, trends in the market, and new product design. Alongside his brother Rob Ferguson, Nate was instrumental in launching Jetty's give-back programs, including the Shelter Project in 2014, with the sole mission of donating free cannabis oil to cancer patients, as well as developing compassion strains to support nonprofit partners. Then we have Aaron. Yeah, thank you, from Sonoma Hills Farm. Sonoma Hills Farm was built on a 100-year-old ranch in West Sonoma County, California. Sonoma Hills is being built slowly and with purpose to last another 100 years. With no outside capital to date, their goal is simply to grow with the best quality cannabis possible across all 3 climates of sun-grown, mixed light, and indoor. Nestled on 60 acres, just 10 minutes from the coast, Sonoma Hills is tended to by former French Laundry culinary gardener Aaron Kiefer, and surrounded by a bounty of heirloom varietal vegetables and heritage animals. A playground for top chefs, their private invite-only farm-to-table dinners are legendary and act as a showcase to translate the sophistication and beauty of cannabis to the food community. Aaron, who is joining us, is the VP of Cannabis Cultivation and Production, and he joined Sonoma Hills full-time in 2020 after years of consulting with the team. While his love of food and obsession with gardening blossomed during his decade as lead gardener at the French Laundry, Aaron saw his extensive plant knowledge as a stepping stone and a path to cultivate his other favorite flora, cannabis. In the restaurant world, Kiefer built a name as one of the most respected gardeners in the industry, and he aspires to build the same reputation in cannabis with sustainability as his core focus. Aaron is a graduate of the Culinary Institute of America.
Thank you.
All
Cannabis
right.
was the first plant I fell in love with.
We've got Chris from Lake Zone. Lake Zone is based in Lakes County. Lake Zone is entering into their 2nd season in business. They currently operate 2 acres of full-term canopy with plans to incrementally expand to 9 acres by the spring of 2025. Lake Zone won 3rd place in the OCal Certified Outdoor category at the 2023 Emerald Cup with their God's Breath and Silver, and won the 2023 State Fair Cannabis Award in the Limonene category with their Biscotti. Chris is the Chief Operating Officer of Lake Zone with 20-plus years in the cannabis space. He's also managing partner at the Ubiquity Group, Inc., which is the parent company to Lake Zone, and is the CEO and founder of Cultivate LLC, a cannabis-focused real estate development firm.
Thank you.
Okay, last but not least, we have Jill from Organic Medicinals. Organic Medicinals dry farms cannabis in Humboldt County's Eel River Valley in Shively, California. They're certified OCal by CCOF, California Dry Farmed Certified, and certified regenerative by Sun and Earth. They're the recipients of the 2019 Emerald Cup Regenerative Cannabis Farm Award and a California State Fair Gold Medal. They have been dry farming cannabis alongside a biodiversity of fruits and produce on their CCOF certified organic commercial farm for 15 plus years. Preserving and building upon their fertile alluvial soils, they use regionally sustainable dry farming standards and practices to grow all on-farm crops without the use of applied water. They practice seed saving of open pollinated legacy seed varieties and artisanal cultivation, harvesting, and curing processes. Grown in full sun and native soil, their cannabis is an expression of place. Jill came to the great Golden State in '93 to farm organically, but it wasn't until 1995 that she started dry farming cannabis. In 2007, she started New Moon Organics, a CCOF certified organic farm in Shively, California. Upon California cannabis legalization in 2016, she formed Organic Medicinals. In 2019, she began Alluvium Organics, which includes nursery and seed breeding. She continues to research, practice, and educate about dry farming and organic sustainable farming practices. That was a mouthful. So we have a lot of award winners, and I know Aaron didn't put in his bio that he won an award this year, but he did as well. So awesome. Congrats to all of you guys. I'm going to pivot to some questions. Okay, so our first question is, what inspired you to use organic practices on your operation? And why did you enroll in OCal to document those practices? And I think a good system maybe would be just to go down the line, if that works for you guys, and maybe spend about 3 minutes each.
Sure, sounds good. I would say the reason we got into organic practices really starts 15 years ago, when I took a deep dive in cannabis. We had a medical dispensary. We were intaking product from all over the state in the medical days, and we saw the medicinal benefits of cannabis, but no one was really testing anything at that time. So one begs the question: Is this good for people? Is this safe to consume? Should we be smoking it? What pesticides were used? And from there, the journey really went on, just to really know what's in our cannabis product. And from there, we learned all the awful things that could be in a lot of cannabis. I mean, we saw, plenty of cannabis and cannabis extracts that were laced with pesticides when testing first started. So it was really an evolution. Jetty, as a company, we've always wanted to have a clean product at the end of the day, something that consumers can enjoy. But we have the Shelter Project where we give cannabis to cancer patients. We want to make sure that same product is just as clean for a cancer patient as it is for your mother, brother, sister, any family member. So really, just getting clean product out the door was always been a big focus for us. And we've aligned with really good farmers like these folks here, and just great farmers in the state that care about the integrity of how they grow the plant and how they process the plant. And thankfully the state and CCOF and these people are here to really put an extra layer of standardization on cannabis. Before then, I remember seeing crazy levels of microbutanol and all sorts of crazy pesticides back in the day. And as manufacturers, we really noticed if there was a little bit on the plant, when we would do the extract, we're not only concentrating the cannabinoids, but we're concentrating the pesticides and all the bad stuff that was in there. So really just, I think for us, the spotlight's on us even more because, certain cannabis that could be lightly sprayed with a pesticide might not be undetectable when it comes to certain testing. But for us, we're concentrating it and then we're giving that to the consumer. So, there's just more, I guess, regulation or just more scrutiny on us as manufacturers to put out a safe, clean product. And then a few years ago, Jetty came out with a solventless product, basically a live rosin that was just made with ice and water. And we thought, the certification would be great on that product line. It's already clean. There's no chemicals that touch that product in the processing, just ice and water. And then from there, the certification really helped solidify the clean claim and just make us feel really good behind everything we do. And we know the inputs are obviously organic and certified OCal. So that's basically it.
So I guess my journey toward organic cannabis started with growing it early on. I remember in the early 2000s seeing somebody blast off a can of Raid in the middle of a grow room and tell me it gives an extra kick at the end or something like that. And I mean, that was really the mentality of this industry way back when. It was all about the buck. That disgusted me. And, you know, as a chef, I definitely learned that organic tastes better. So, you know, there's little nuances when you're dealing with the best chefs in the country. These little nuances matter so much to them, and it really comes down to the flavor. And their tongues have been kind of trained, just like a sommelier trains his palate. Their tongues have been trained to the utmost degree. They can taste the differences in vegetables. Okay, that one's better. That one has more flavor. And for me, more flavor is more nutrition, and that comes from life in the soil, full sun. Even if you pull a cover over it, it changes things a little bit. You know, even to the point where I would grow vegetables, the same seeds, the same genetics, same prep for the soil, but one place that I was growing had regular water from a well, and the other one had treated water from the city supply. The flavor on the treated water, which killed life in the soil, you know, just that little bit of trace amounts of chlorine, would taste deader. You know, it wouldn't have that live, like, true punch to it. So that was kind of my journey, because I had trained my tongue. I understood, like, okay, well, if this tastes better, it is better. And cannabis is the same way. I made my journey from, you know, rock wool to, you know, the cocoa to a cocoa soil mix to now it's hard for me to smoke anything that's not organic, growing outdoors. I still smoke some indoor, some people who I know and I trust the way that they do it, but it's a different high. You know, you can't replace the sun, you can't replace life in the soil.
Well, I am a longtime student of Dr. Elaine Ingham, and she taught living soil, long-term, how to, for me at least, it started off as a cost-benefit type of thing. Being able to put less inputs and not throw salts at farms and come out, you know, coloring by numbers, basically. But on top of that, it was a business decision. I don't believe that the majority of farms will be able to cut the cloth when it comes to growing organically. And that differentiation, I think, is a good business practice and would set the bar higher for everybody else and distinguish us as a more competent facility to be able to produce organic quality products. And speaking of, you don't have to be a chef, but, you know, I've eaten a lot of food as well, and, you know, being able to produce something that, for me at least, what I see the biggest impact with cultivating organically is the storage of the product. It lasts longer. It doesn't oxidize as faster. And for a business, that's good for us, especially being able to, you know, you harvest in the fall and the winter, and product is on the market. There's a lot of it on the market. To be able to contain it, hold it, cure it properly, and then release it back in the spring and its same quality of freshness, that's something that we want to be able to do and hit the higher ends of the market.
Hello. I came to farming cannabis through other agricultural ventures. I began dry farming organically in my region because it was what my region did traditionally. It was their traditional farming methods. I learned from my farming neighbors and friends in the region how to do it. Organically, I came to it from a social, political standpoint, doing the right thing, trying to, you know, create healthy systems that help all of everything, synergistically, mutualistically, all combined. I chose my ecosystem wisely. I was looking for a fertile place. I was looking for a place I didn't have to water. I was looking for a place that was already healthy, that I could maintain and build upon. And I set out to be somewhat self-sustainable. I've accomplished that. My region just creates so much bounty. And it's so diverse that it's easy to be organic. It's a natural progression yeah, so that's how I came to organics. And cannabis was the number one commodity. I mean, it's the one that supported the farm. Cannabis always supported the other agricultural crops. So hopefully it will keep doing that. It's hard to be a small farmer.
It is. Thank you. And Jill, why don't you hold on to the mic, because then I'm just going to come back this way and move to our next question. So I talked a bit in the slides about the requirement and the regulations to maintain or improve natural resources. So this is kind of cultivator specific. I didn't get into like what does that mean, like what practices do you use. So I just would love to hear like, you know, vegetative cover cropping. Just talk about anything you want to talk about that helps to, you know, take care of or improve your soil and your water and the wildlife on your farm.
Okay. So at the end of the year, yes, we do till it all under, plant the cover crop. We use rotational methods. We rotate all of the farm, including the cannabis. We have about 15 acres of riparian zone that connects to the river, runs through the property into the forest, connecting it to all of the bioregion. It provides safe places, food and fuel, flora and fauna for all the wildlife, and creates a great buffer zone, holds all the beneficials, holds basically our IPM is right there. We use wait and see methods. We dry farm. Yeah. I mean, I could go on. We save our seeds. We do seed breeding of open pollinated style of seed breeding. Basically choosing what we want, saving those seeds, doing it again next year, and eventually we get pretty quickly actually what we're looking for, and we just keep going with that, and then do it all again cyclically. Try to create a closed loop. There you go.
Well, for us, we actually procured a property that was a victim to the Valley Fire, and there was literally nothing there. And so being able to seeing our impact on the local ecosystem, that's been that's been my favorite thing about it. Also the bats. We brought in bat boxes and introduced bats in the area, and that integrated pest management that's already there for us and basically established through these practices. Looking at the property from when we procured it to now, it's night and day. And being able to say that I'm a part of that's been the most rewarding part of it.
So our organic practices start with the cover crop. You know, the cover crop is the most important crop of the year. You know, we have the one crop that we sell, and then we have the other crop, which is just as important, which is the cover crop. And so after we harvest all the cannabis, we'll chip all of the stems down into the soil, bring the sheep in, add amendments to the soil, and then our cover crop seed. Our cover crop will go along with the water. Depending on when it starts raining, we have that grow. This year we had so much rain, the cover crop was like a sea of life out there. When you're out there, it's like up to your chest, it's all moving, there's rabbits and there's orioles, and we were thinking about doing a happy hour, we came up with a name the other day. We were thinking about doing a 1 hour happy cover crop hour at 4 o'clock where you could just tune in and chill out and watch this life happening. It's almost like the ocean is flowing. So that goes back into the ground, gets broken down for the next year's growth. That's a big part of what we do. We have, of course, our practices of we have a bad problem with gophers. There's a million gophers within a mile of us. As far as you can see, there's gopher holes. So we're in the battle with gophers at all times, but we trap, and we do it the hard way. We have cats, we trap, we had a bunch of rain this year. If we started doing anything else, like poisoning, which is standard practice in most vineyards, the osprey, the hawks, the golden eagle I see out there, all of these raptors would be eating these poisoned gophers that come out of the holes, and they would have weakened systems, and we'd start to break down the whole system. So we have this really wonderful area. We've seen fox out there, there's badger, there's coyote. You know, one coyote actually got one of our sheep, but that's nature too. So I think it's just kind of getting out of the way and looking at the farm as a whole, and really our farm and the connecting farms to us, which are all organic or regenerative grazing, as a whole biodome, and it kind of feeds into us growing this a little bit of a monocrop of cannabis. You know, we have flowers in there, and we have flowers around, and we have other plants around for the other bugs. But really, it is a little bit of a monocrop. But since it's surrounded by biodiversity, yeah, you might see an aphid, but it's not going to spread. You might see, you know, other things, and then you see the praying mantis, and then you see the glassy, you know, the green. You know, all the predators are out there. The ladybugs had a hatch last year that I've never seen before. So, you know, all of these predators come around and kind of take care of our pest issues, and we get out of the way. And I think you said you do the wait and see. That's kind of what, you know, if I see something, I'm like, oh, keep your eye on it. And then a lot of times it kind of goes away.
It's hard to wait and see.
It's hard.
It's like, you know, we've been taught to
Go ahead. Yeah.
preventative.
It's hard to wait and see
Preventative
because
measures.
you want to take action because you're frightened that you're going to lose, you know, crops, but you have to you kind of have to let nature seek a balance, and that's really what we're trying to do.
It's there for you when you do it.
The nature seeks a balance, you know.
Awesome. I applaud you guys all for doing that. I worked in the integrated pest management industry before coming to CCOF, and yeah, it's tough when you're trying to teach people that you got to watch that population actually build. So there's actually food for the predators, and it's just like this panic moment, and then you watch nature take care of itself, and it's like very rewarding. You set it up for that, so good job, guys. All right. Nate, let's have you start this one. So, and we talked a little bit about this, but you can just continue elaborating. What concerns do you hold over worker and consumer health of cannabis? How do you see your organic practices contributing to the protection of workers and consumers?
Well, you know, obviously consumer safety and employee safety is of the utmost importance, and really all starts with these folks here, you know, on the cultivation side. As manufacturers, we have it a lot easier because they've done a lot of the hard work, you know, doing the inputs for us, so thank you. But you know, for us, and really for us as consumers at the end of the day, so we do manufactured products, vape, you know, pre-rolls, things like that. We want to make sure what they're smoking or what they're consuming is going to be the safest thing on the market. You know, as we mentioned, something that we can stand behind and just be proud of, and again, know that whether it's a patient using it medicinally or just a consumer using it recreationally, it's the same thing. And you know, that's really the crux of what we do and why we do it. I would say, you know, that I don't know if that basically sums it up, but it's just really having a clean, safe product at the end of the day. You know, we mentioned like the environmental impact, which is something that's a small portion of it for manufacturers. You know, we don't use any hydrocarbons in our OCal product, so no live resins or anything like that. But you know, at the end of the day, we think we can get just really a full spectrum of terpenes, full spectrum of cannabinoids in our products at the end of the day, which we know are clean from the farmers, and you know, we're giving the patient or the consumer the best possible medicine we can.
Is this working? You're the only manufacturer on the panel, and so can you talk a little bit about, you mentioned it, but for your certified products that you have right now, explain a little bit what the difference is of how you have to produce that versus if you weren't OCal certified. So what are you doing differently?
Sure. I mean, it really starts with just making sure we keep a really clean environment in our processing. That goes all the way through the supply chain, all the way down into packaging of the finished goods. So we basically have designated space, designated machines, a lot of paperwork, a lot of logs, just to make sure there's no cross-contamination. So all the way from the trucks that are delivering the finished goods, the cannabis to our facilities, the storage, the machines we're using to extract, and the package, the finished goods. Everything's kept separate all the way through the supply chain. So just a lot of designated space, a lot of documentation. from there, like I said, the only thing that touches our OCal certified products is just ice and water. So that's the only thing that touches the plant in processing. So it's just really clean. We don't use any sort of solvents, anything like that. Even the cleaning agents we use are completely natural, completely organic. So just a lot of clean processing.
Nice. I want some now.
I got you.
So for us, for when I was a chef, I wouldn't cook anything I didn't want to eat, and then I grew vegetables for chef. Wouldn't grow anything that I didn't want to eat, and it's the same thing. We don't grow anything we don't want to smoke, and we know what can be in other products, and we're sure of what we're growing. We stand behind it, and the efficacy of living soil, full sun, it's just different. You can be smoking all day long, and then you smoke something that was produced in that way, and it just kind of blankets the other high. It changes it up, changes up the tone. So you can feel it. We can taste it and we can feel it. So we definitely try that.
For us, at least for me, employee safety is the number one concern for me. And making sure that my staff isn't exposed to harmful pesticides, harmful literally anything, and the availability to be able to employ staff year-round. We're one of the few that in our area that employs our staff year-round. We run a full-term outdoor farm, and as everybody knows, you plant in the spring, harvest in the fall. But we don't monocrop. So throughout the winter, we have to keep up. We plant legumes. We rotate that into the soil as a nitrogen boost for the next year's spring. And being able to have our guys work year-round, we don't lose staff. And that staff yearly will learn our program and implement it, and we'll be able to continue to do better, continue to provide better product and higher quality product for the consumer. And at the end of the day, the consumer will notice that. It just as Aaron said, the high is very different. When you're growing organically in the full term, full sun, I always call indoor a one-trick pony. It's good for THC and that's it. Past that, you can compare any of those outdoor profiles on terpenes to any of the indoor, and it's going to be night and day. It's almost like this is a complete product versus a lot of the indoor product that's out there or the inorganic products. Just 100% from bottom to top, it's complete and it's a higher quality.
For worker safety, we don't use fertilizers, amendments, pesticides. We do a lot of hula hoeing, which creates dust. Unfortunately, there is that. But yeah, all of the regular agricultural, scary, toxic stuff we've done away with, and it's kind of a paradise-like situation of, you're out there, it's everything's natural, clean. We try to just work within the systems of the place, stewards of the land, basically, just take care of the land and the people, and everyone seems to be healthy and happy, and that just passes on to the consumer, and just the whole system at large. Yeah.
So I've been out to Shively, and so you take this little break off of 101, and you kind of take this little road, and then you come to this river that has a temporary bridge that's only there for a little bit of the time in the summer before the rains come up. And you cross this bridge, and you're in this valley that's almost unattainable. Like you can't get there if this bridge is washed out. So it's this special place that's just, nothing touches it. No, there's no commercial anything there. So it's just this beautiful little place that gets sun and has great water on the Eel River Basin. It's really, really nice.
The thing about that area is the whole area is like that. The whole Eel River Valley is this fertile place. And actually, any river valley is a fertile place, it seems. Where there is water, where there's fertility, where the grass is growing green, where it's tall in the summer, it's fertile, it's farmable. Yeah, you're from a fertile place. Yeah, and and it's great that you're building your fertility. It takes years to build fertility.
It does.
Yep, it's hard work, but it pays off, and it pays off wide.
Yeah.
So that's what we're trying to do. Just be another part of that. Build the good.
Steward of the land.
Yep. Steward of place.
All right, I'm looking at the time. I think we have 3 minutes. I don't know if there's anybody that has a question that's burning. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Thank you. No, I think we're burning enough outside, but 2 questions, and forgive me if they're reiterative. I was able to join late. Number 1, in terms of OCal, what are the opportunities for very, very small operations and equity operations to access OCal? Because we all would want to, but most of us can't manage it financially. And number 2, I hear what you're saying about that grass, and if it's fertile, it's fertile. But what are your strategies when we're looking at real depredation of beneficial insects? We've seen that at least for the last decade. So we don't have the good girls and guys as much as we used to. What are your strategies for dealing with an infestation or a problem while continuing to adhere to the OCal certification? Thank you.
My approach to beneficials is to create this space for the predators. When you start spraying, imagine if you're spraying the rabbits and the mountain lions. The rabbits are going to breed and come right back. Mountain lions take 7 years to kind of breed. So when you're spraying, you're killing both populations, but one keeps on coming back quicker. And so you're in the cycle of spraying. So you need to create the spaces for those predators to be where they can come into your field and feast. If there is anything there, they're going to come and they're going to eat.
It's the wait and see. Just like they were speaking to earlier, sometimes you just have to wait for that population to build up and make sure that the predatory population have a sufficient amount to start to feed on and produce themselves. Like I said earlier, I'm a sucker for the bats. The bats have been absolutely night and day when it comes to pest management for us. At other facilities that I've ran an organic program for the last 15 years on a number of different facilities. As Aaron was saying, if you spray, it's not a targeted spray. You're just throwing a blanket on the problem, and everything under that blanket is being taken care of. And that's not always a good thing.
Our ecosystem is healthy enough that it maintains its own diversity of beneficials that maintain our farm.
And I'll address your question about small operations coming into the OCal program. This is very new. So one great thing about CCOF is we have a policy team, we have a foundation. Those groups are separate from the certification realm and are working at state and federal levels to always advocate for the people that we certify. In the organic realm, there's actually a cost share program where you can get reimbursement, and unfortunately that's a federal program not available to cannabis producers. And we are working really hard at trying to make an equivalent situation for the cannabis community. It might take time, it takes participation with government, but we have a team of policy experts that are working on developing things like this. And CCOF has a sliding scale for certification, so what you would pay annually is going to be based off of cells, based off of size, and it gets more and more as you increase in that. So I encourage you to come by the booth and we can chat a little more about how that works. Anybody here can snap a shot of our QR code on the wall display right here and learn more about getting certified or anything we discussed. And I think we're probably out of time, right? So thank you so much to you all. You're our early adopters. We appreciate you for all the good work you're doing, and thanks everybody for joining us.
Thank you, Caitlin.
Thank you.